So, you want to get into film photography, but you've probably also heard that film prices are going up and there's so many cameras out there and so many resellers. So, you're probably wondering, how much does it actually even cost to get into film right now?
Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the cost of getting into film right now and how you can find yourself a pretty decent camera if you go thrifting. So on the market right now, there's a lot of new film cameras and they really come into two classes. There's the cheap plastic ones. So there's the Ilford Sprite, there's the Kodak Ektar half frame. There's tons of others. They're all sort of similar. They're just like a plain plastic box. They usually have something like a 28 to 38 millimeter lens. They're fixed at something like f8 or f11. They have a flash and they work quite well. I'm not gonna knock those. It's just that they cost somewhere around $50-$60 Canadian to get one of those, and I think that there's a lot better value to be had if you go thrifting for a camera. And then the other end of the spectrum is the brand new Pentax 17, which is also a half frame camera, and the Rolly 35AF, which are in the $700 $1,000 range. And those are, it's fantastic to see brand new film cameras that are actually usable and have proper good features, but they're a little bit out of the price range for someone just trying to get into it. So I do recommend thrifting cameras. If you want to just dip your toes a little bit, you can go get yourself a disposable. If you were looking to do that, I say the Kodak Funsaver is the best one. But so reasoning behind that is that it's got 800 ISO film and a pretty decent flash, and it's widely available, which is good. But even those cost about like $30, and I think you could essentially get something pretty close to that or more or just a little bit more if you spend the time to go thrift something yourself. So to just give you an idea, something like this is something that I've thrifted. This is a Fujifilm ClearShot 70 AF. It has a Fuji lens, a little lens cover, which is nice. It has a flash, has a nice big viewfinder, and it takes AA batteries, which is my preference when looking for film cameras at the thrift store. But sometimes they're proprietary batteries. Those can be a little bit more expensive because you have to buy the camera, and then usually the batteries can cost $15-$20. But AA batteries are everywhere, and they're usually pretty cheap to get as well. But anyway, we're going to go visit some thrift stores, and we're going to talk about what we can find and what the total cost of trying to shoot film for the first time might look like. All right, so there's a Value Village here, and we're going to try and go and see if we can find a camera. But I like this spot because I've had pretty good luck at this specific one. This is at Walkley in Ottawa. And if I don't find one, there is a place across the street that's another thrift store. This is Salvation Army. So we're going to go in and we're going to see what we can find. Sometimes you find camera bags and you always have to check inside because there's usually a camera in there. This case, this was empty, but there was a different camera around, but it was in great shape. So we're going to skip this. And you should always check the showcase. I like to check that last because it's usually a little bit more expensive. Anyway, so out of the Value Village now, I was able to find this Canon. It was $15. Now, normally I look for ones with AA batteries. I don't think that's the case here, but I picked this up because this bag alone, I feel like, is nice enough that if I did want to sell this, which in this case I'm probably gonna just give this away, but $15, like, you could probably get that for this bag alone. It's nice, and it also has some old film inside. Looks like some President's Choice brand or something like that, but hard to tell right now. I'm not gonna open the back right now to look. I don't normally go for these because I like the ones that take AA's. I'm not sure what this one is because I haven't taken the battery cover off. I just sort of looked at it pretty quickly from the showcase because there was no one there and it took a while to find someone, so I just didn't want to take too long. I figured $15 is an okay price even if it's a dud. Anyway, we're gonna go to the next spot now. So no luck at the Salvation Army. It's always worth a look in just to see, because
The haul from Value Village was good. I think it could have been better, but I think it was good enough. But since we're here, thought I'd have a look at the Salvation Army. But unfortunately, they didn't have any cameras today. But that's alright, they can't all be winners. Nonetheless, let's go home and have a look at the camera that we got. We're gonna take a look at the light seals, hopefully, and the batteries. And, I might need to buy some batteries, we'll see. But fingers crossed it's good.
So when looking to buy thrifted cameras, things that I would recommend are looking for name brands that you can recognize, like Nikon, Canon, Fujifilm, Olympus. There's a lot that don't make cameras anymore but are still very good. Things like your Minoltas, your Yashicas, your Contaxes. They're all very, very well-known, well-respected camera brands in film cameras. There's also Ricoh. This is not by any means an exhaustive list, but just a few big names to give you an idea. So that's something that I think is worthwhile. There's also a lot of cameras you'll see that are very cheap and plasticky feeling, but if it's from a name brand, it's probably good. If it's from a brand that you don't recognize, it's probably not that good, or something that's just like a promotional item. Like Bell and Howell has a lot of not so great cameras, and there's a lot of rebrands from other places which sometimes can be good and sometimes can be bad. If you can trace the camera by doing a quick little Google search to find out what manufacturer actually produced the camera and it's someone you recognize, then you're probably good. If it's not, I'd say take a pass on it. But another thing that I've mentioned a few times and I'll mention again is look for one with a battery format that you can get normally, like AA or AAA. AA is pretty common. But if it's a different battery, it still should be fine. Things like CR2, 2CR5, they can be found. It's just that you have to go a little bit more out of your way to get them. In this case, you could probably find them in pharmacies like Shoppers Drug Mart or Walmart, but you can definitely get them on Amazon or camera stores.
No, part of the reason I recommend point-and-shoot cameras like this, or the one we got in the video, which I don't have anymore because I've already given it away to a friend, is that you get a lot more for the price, and for $15 plus the battery, it's about, and the film, we're looking at somewhere close to $45 compared to a disposable for $30 or one of the plastic ones for $60. You're getting something that has a little bit more functionality, like more focus zones. In the case of the one we got a zoom, we got flash modes, we got a date back, things you just don't get with the disposables or the cheaper cameras that they're making right now. But there is that inherent risk. So I understand you could go either way. I think that if you can get yourself a camera from the thrift store, it's usually worth taking the chance. But you pick whatever makes you more comfortable. So the camera we picked up was the Canon SureShot Mega Zoom 76.
And it did indeed take a proprietary battery. It took a 2CR5 battery, which is like one of those camera-centric batteries. So it did take a little bit of hunting to find one of these. You can usually buy them in camera stores, but they do sell them on Amazon. They're about $15 to $20. And then I also had to buy a roll of film, which in this case I shot the cheapest color film I could find, which is Kodak Gold for me, and it was $15 for a roll of 36 exposures. So all in all, $15 for the camera and the case, which I think is quite nice. Another $15 for this battery, and then $15 for the film. That was $45. And we are going to also get this developed, which is going to cost us around $9. Let's round it up to 10 because there's taxes. So $10 for the for the development, and if you are getting prints or scans, that's going to be an additional $8 to $9. So all in all, we are looking at something around $60 to $65 for the whole package. If you get the camera, the battery, the film, development, and scanning or prints. But going forward, your cost will be just the cost of the film and the development and scanning and printing. So that's around, the additional 25 to 35 per time you want to use the camera, which can be expensive. And that's if you're shooting color film. If you're shooting black and white film, you can definitely get a lot cheaper rolls. I'd say black and white film is roughly around $8 a roll for pretty decent stuff. So yeah, the cost of film right now is quite high. But if you want to keep shooting film, there are some things you can do over time to lower your costs. You can start bulk rolling, you can develop the film yourself, you can scan the film yourself. Printing yourself is also an option, but it's more difficult than the other two. So unless you have already scanned the film, in which case you can just print it. I mean, darkroom printing is quite difficult. Now, there's one more thing worth talking about here, and that's why would you want to shoot film? So my argument is that you should, ideally, if you're trying to save costs, you should shoot digital most of the time. But there's a little bit of a novelty in shooting film, and also a little bit of an advantage in shooting film is that you can get full frame quality out of cameras that are this big. They fit in your pocket, they have their built-in flash, and they're quite discreet, they're small, pretty easy to carry around. And if it's something like this where you buy it for not too much, I bought this for I think $8, you don't have to worry about it too much, which is also nice. You can throw it in a bag, throw it in your pocket, carry it around all the time. It doesn't weigh very much, it's quite light, it doesn't take up a lot of space, and there are even smaller cameras than this, but it comes down to finding something that fits your budget and your needs. In this case, this is a camera that I bought a few years ago, and I keep it around just to use, give it to people to use for little events and stuff like that. So it's nice to have, and I do recommend it. But I can also understand that the rising costs of film make it prohibitive and harder to enter. So I wanted to demystify it a little bit by making this video about how you can go and find yourself a camera for relatively cheap, because when you look on eBay, there's a myriad of cameras and you don't know what's good and what's bad. And then there's also Etsy and places like that where people will curate it and test the cameras, but they will cost a lot more. So buying these cameras at the thrift stores, you're taking a little bit of a risk over buying these brand new plastic cameras in a camera store, but you will end up getting more out of it if you do get a working camera. And if you don't get a working camera, if you're buying a $10-15 camera off of the thrift store, you can probably get some or most of that money back by selling the camera as a display camera or for parts to someone who's looking for one. But yeah, that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.